everybody.
Hello. Oh, I got
Welcome to another session of Lunch and Learn with Geo. We've got an interesting topic again about artificial intelligence agents. It's being presented by a couple of very successful, excellent speakers from Lexitas. Lexitas is a great partner of the Northwest Suburban Bar Association, and they're picking up all kinds of new tools to help us in litigation. Just a reminder to mute yourselves if you're not muted already. I could hear somebody rumbling in the background. So please mute yourselves unless I have to do it. We are recording. So here's the obligatory disclaimer. So be careful what you say. If you have any questions, please use the chat box. If you want to post to social about us, use the hashtag Lunch and Learn with Geo. Future webinars are always announced by Instagram. If you're a member of the NWSBA, you will be given information on how to get CLE credit, but you must be a member of the NWSBA to get CLE credit. Ethics credit is being applied for. I don't know if that'll work. We're here because the Code of Professional Responsibility tells us that we have to remain competent, and we have to do that in terms of relevant technology. The benefits and risks associated with relevant technology. That's been our mantra for a while, and it's also the weight of our responsibility, especially as technology changes so much. Our guest speakers today, Jason and Dominic, they are associated with Lexitas. Jason has established a nice platform using next-gen reporting. Dominic is the president of e-law at Lexitas. He's got a lot of experience and specializes in case management. We're going to turn the program over. I'm going to stop sharing. Jason, are you going first? Jason, you're on mute.
I'm happy to go first. Absolutely.
Okay, I stopped sharing, and it's your ball game.
Sounds good. Well, I'll just kind of kick things off with a just general introduction to the topics: AI and litigation, agentic technology, all that sort of stuff. And this is, for better or for worse, my world. This is where I spend all my time. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Lexitas, and I've been knee-deep in AI for the last 5 years. But also I live in Silicon Valley. So like you go to Trader Joe's, people are talking about agentic technology anyway. So it's kind of hard to escape. So this is a subset of an overall presentation I do on AI ethics in litigation. And I was so glad to see what Gio said about the Code of Professional Responsibility. There's all these new laws that people are coming out with. And I just think like the ABA model rules and the state rules, they're just a great way to see this sort of how to deal with the ethics of this new technology. Okay, so I'm going to start off with sort of a background on the alphabet soup of all the technology that's out there. And maybe this is redundant for many of you, but I think it's just a good place to start. So artificial intelligence, of course, everyone knows, it's a form of computer technology that can simulate human intelligence and decision-making processes. And you could ask AI to come up with 10,000 different definitions of AI, and they'd all be pretty close. But you've got a kind of a gut instinct for what that means. But it's not just a monolithic technology, right? There's different sort of fields and subsets of AI. So there's AI writ large. So again, living in Silicon Valley, it's required that you have some sort of self-driving car. But it really is a pretty amazing example of how AI is put to use when people are betting their lives on AI working. That these cars have cameras and sensors and LiDAR and all these ways to sort of see what's going on and make informed decisions. They've got a bigger processor in the car than they do in my computer in my desk. So, but that's just one example of AI. But then there's another subcategory of AI called machine learning. And this is how data models get better over time. So it sounds very, grand, but really it's pretty straightforward. And you've all experienced this. So things like spam filters, right? If you're in Google Mail, and you say, oh, this is spam, I don't want this, the Google filter will learn from you over time and say, oh, yep, this is spam. And someone else might get the same email and it'll be filtered out of their inbox as well. Or another example would be Spotify. That if you say, oh, I like this song, or I hate this song, or I like this band, or this hate this band, or this genre, or something like that, it'll get better and better and better the more it interacts with you. And so the model is trained by interaction. Another example is Amazon, right? They're pernicious, the way that they see what you buy and suggest other stuff that you might like, and you get tricked into all kinds of stuff. So that's machine learning. And then there's natural language processing. NLP is really pretty interesting. It is the underpinning in so many ways of legal technology, but people don't even realize it. NLP is helping computers understand the meaning of words. So it's one thing to have text and a screen. I mean, that's been around for decades, but to really understand semantically what it means, that's relatively new. So one example that is kind of hits home for people is Alexa. I don't know if you have these little espionage devices, little hockey puck thing in your kitchen, and you can bark an order and you can say, "Hey Alexa, turn down the lights," or crank up the music or something like that, right? And
Can't make me dinner yet.
it's getting there. They deliver you dinner. That's where Whole Foods kicks in. So, but what it does is it's pretty amazing. You're in your kitchen and you yell an order, and it will obey it. But if you break it down into the subparts, it's interesting. So this audio stream leaves your face, right? It's picked up by a microphone on the other side of your kitchen, and it translates it to text with speech to text or ASR or something like that. That's not new. It's been around for a long time. But then the natural language processing kicks in and it understands what you mean. That, okay, turn the lights to level 2. Oh, okay, let me translate that into computer code. And that's the magic. That's where NLP really comes in. And when we talk about semantic understanding of legal documents, we talk about agentic AI or large language models, it's key that natural language processing, that's a very, very important part of the whole thing. And lastly, large language models. So that's the hot, new, buzzy area. It's been around for less than 10 years. And it really is, it's both simple and complicated. So the simple part is all it does is it predicts the next word. Right. And so like on your phone and you're texting someone and you ask, like you say, happy birthday to, it'll say you, right? It knows that that is the next logical word. So the way large language models are created is it amasses a gargantuan amount of text, everything possible that you could ever read, any text that's ever been written, whether it's public data or private data, thanks New York Times, it will amass that information and build up a database of what things sound like. And so if you read all the song lyrics ever written and all the Shakespearean sonnets and all the computer code and all the legal briefs and all the legal citations and everything imaginable, right? It will know what things sound like. And so when you say, hey, I want you to write an introduction to Geo's next event, but I want you to write it like a Springsteen song, it will do an incredibly good job. Just that's a freebie for you, George. But you can do that kind of stuff because it knows what Bruce Springsteen sounds like. But if you said, hey, give me the lyrics to Born to Run, it would probably just bail on that and say, no, sorry, that's not what I do. Right? Because all it does is it creates things that don't exist. It's not a database. And so if you're just talking to a large language model and you say, what is the weather like tomorrow in Tampa? It will tell you something that sounds like a forecast for Tampa tomorrow, not based in reality at all. Right? As well, it's 72 and sunny. I don't know, that's generally what forecasts in Tampa sound like. So to say, oh, I'm going to actually get the real weather, that's where a large language model would reach out to a different database, right? We're edging into agentic technology. It'll say like, oh, well, let me check the National Weather Service or something, some authoritative source, and get it back to you. So a large language model in and of itself doesn't have data to give you. It just has the ability to replicate anything from scratch. And it just dreams things up. And so you hear about hallucinations, and hallucinations are when that's all it does. It only hallucinates. It only creates things that don't exist. And most of the time that works really well. And we'll talk about when it doesn't. Okay, so just to kind of wrap it up, this little Russian nesting doll of different terms. So AI is sort of the big bucket that stores all this. There's machine learning, which is a subset, and then natural language processing is a subset of AI, and then large language models is the new kid on the block. And you guys, now that you understand how large language models work, you understand how they can be used in the legal industry, right? There's so many ways that they're being used on a daily basis. And if we had more time to chat, I'd love to hear how you guys are using them. But things like client intake, oh my gosh, it makes life so much easier that instead of having to read hundreds of pages of a new client's files or a new case from an existing client. Now it's something that you can crank through very quickly using large language models. Legal research. So where I grew up in a legal family, all my friends are lawyers. And I remember in my dad's law firm, it was just books on all the walls everywhere. And then somewhere in the 80s, they got a new terminal. Like this is so exciting. It was like, this monochromatic, ugly beast. And it was just fascinating, but it really wasn't much better than a book because you had to be a legal librarian to understand how to extract information. You couldn't just talk to it and say, what is in Hennepin County, what are the rules for X, Y, and Z? Like, no, you've got to know exactly chapter and verse or where to find that information. And technology got a little better. They came out with CD-ROMs. Okay, great. And then that's so exciting. And then they came out with an online version. But still, you've got to be a legal librarian or a recent law school grad to understand how to track down what you're looking for. It doesn't really have a human interface, and that's changing dramatically. Doc review. If you're going through a large case, e-discovery, M&A work, all that kind of stuff, you know how taxing doc review can be. So if you're trying to determine, if a document is responsive, that's a huge process, and it goes on. And now that you understand how large language models work, you understand how they'd be really well suited for this kind of stuff. I saw one recent survey that showed that large language models are 92% accurate on determining whether a document is responsive or not, or whether it's attorney-client privilege or not, which sounds like not great, 92, but it's better than the humans in the same study, and they're at 85%. So there you go. Legal marketing. I think this is an up-and-coming area of large language models being used in the legal industry. I've got friends who send out newsletters to their clients using large language models that they'll put in some notes into an LLM and it'll spit out a whole newsletter. It'll do research, it'll grab information, it'll build out an entire newsletter for my friends. And they send it up to their clients, and their clients are like, wow, that's amazing. How do you do that? It works. Okay, and contract drafting. This is the OG. This has been around for the original use case for large language models in law. And now that you understand how large language models work, you see why they're so well suited for contract drafting, right? You could say, here are 100 contracts. These are good. I like these. Now I want you to write one new contract. Here are the terms. Now base it on these other ones. So it's going to do an incredibly good first draft. Because it has a good data model. It's got a data set to build on. And so it can hallucinate something new that gives you the chance to, it does 90% of the work, and then you can apply your expertise to the remaining 10%. Now, every once in a while, people will miss that it's the first step, and they'll say, "Oh, this is just, it's done. It's done by a computer, or done by the AI, or whatever," and they'll assume that it's final, which is sloppy. I mean, just hands down sloppy. The analogy I use is using large language models is like having a second-year associate, where they're knowledgeable, they're eager, they're hardworking, they really want to impress you, but they don't have the experience and the seasoning. They just haven't been through the same fights that you have, and so they don't catch the kind of things that experience would catch. And so, in the same way, you wouldn't let a second-year associate write a pleading and just send it straight to the judge, or write a contract and send it straight to your client, right? You would absolutely take a look at it. They can do the busy work, but then experience will take it from there. So,
Maybe you're being generous with the second-year associate.
the smart part or the eager part? So, and then last is automating routine tasks. This is just sort of a catch-all, right? It just in general can improve litigation efficiency by automating tasks. It'll improve accuracy by identifying patterns and connections, and it'll help you compare documents to find exceptions and aberrations and potential issues. So if you have, you're doing M&A work and you have thousands of contracts to go through, you can say, well, okay, I don't care about most of these. I just want to know which ones are going to expire in the next 3 months, or which ones are venued in New Hampshire, or whatever it is. That's a really, really good use case for this kind of technology. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Noah Weisberg. He said, if you're a lawyer who's not using this stuff, your opponents are. They're going to do better work than you. For most people, it's going to give them an edge, and I don't know why you wouldn't want to take an edge.
Let me throw something else about that, Jason. I was having a nice glass of bourbon with a couple of federal judges.
Excellent.
And they all have Westlaw on their desks, and and so do their clerks. Every brief memorandum that is filed with them, they first run it through Westlaw to analyze it and see if everything was, if we caught the right cases or were on the right point. So if the
Yep.
judges are doing it on our briefs, why aren't we doing it before we file any brief?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I'm involved in federal litigation right now, and it is incredibly valuable to say, hey, is this citation accurate? Is opposing counsel's brief, is it on point? Is the case they're citing, does it exist? And does it say what they're saying it says? And how can it be countered and all that? It's incredibly powerful. And Thomson Reuters, I mean, just a proud Minnesotan, but they've done a good job of staying ahead of the game, mostly through acquisitions. But they are, yeah, they're providing good service with co-counsel and others to do that kind of stuff. But it's true. I mean, the judges have got it. There have been some cases. There's hundreds and hundreds of cases of hallucinations where people submit AI slop to the judge and don't bother checking citations. They just grab it straight from AI and send it off to the judge. But there have been citations where the judge will catch it, but even citations where opposing counsel will catch it and say like, "Hey, listen, this is, it looks like it was done with AI." So, I mean, that's one of the big risks of AI is hallucinations, where it'll just make stuff up. And I mentioned that, an AI model is kind of like an eager intern, but they really want to give you an answer. That is the goal. That's how they're trained. And when you train new models, you'll have probably hundreds or thousands of different models that you're competing against each other to see which one's the best. And the one that answers the most questions is considered the best. So don't be surprised if you have these AI models that are just, eager to find something, some answer for you to help, even if it doesn't know the right answer. Right? That my definition of experience or wisdom is someone that says, that's a good question. I don't know. Right? AI models will never say that. They'll always come up with an answer, whether it knows it or not. And also they're overconfident. Like there's situations where they won't admit that they're wrong. And it's something that's getting better over time in newer models, both from Claude and OpenAI, but they're historically really reluctant to admit that they're wrong. And so that's just a flaw in the model. Just don't assume you're going to talk the model out of it. It's not going to be interested in hearing from you. And the last, of course, is privacy. That's just a huge issue. Going back to the model rules for states and the ABA, it's just critical that we keep client information secure. And so the way that AI models are trained is with data. And you know what they do with your data? They keep it. Everything that you send to a public model like a ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or whatever, they're going to hang on to it. Unless you have some special arrangement where you can keep your information private, they're going to use all that data to train the model and get better and better and better. And that's how it works. That's part of the contract. All right. That's why you're not paying anything for these models. So it's something to keep in mind that if you have sensitive information, attorney-client privilege information, attorney's eyes only, it's critical that it not go into some public model like a ChatGPT. Okay. So all this to lead up to agentic AI. Any questions before I dig into this?
Just as a reminder, if I know a lot of people use ChatGPT, but if you're going to use ChatGPT, at least buy the pro version where it gives you an option on the top right-hand corner to keep it confidential, private, so it doesn't become part of the larger LLM. So
Yep.
if you're, don't be, in other words, don't be cheap about using AIs.
Yeah, absolutely. And the footnote about that is if you click to sort of privacy mode, they'll only save it for 30 days. Okay, so agentic AI is a little bit different than traditional AI. So with just a traditional large language model, I ask a question, I get an answer, and that's it. Agentic AI is actually a dispatching of multiple agents to do longer and more complex processes. So if I have something that's going to take multiple steps, that requires agentic AI. Otherwise, with a large language model, I would ask a question, get an answer. Okay, great. Then I ask another question. Okay, great. Get that back. Ask a third question. But I'm in the middle of the loop. I'm the orchestrator for that process. And agentic AI will spin up multiple agents and it'll own that process. So you give it a longer, more complex process, like, okay, I'll get to work. Okay, I'll do the thing, and then I'll do the thing, and the other thing, and the other thing. And so that is agentic. Benefits are obvious, right? You can do more complex tasks. You can dig into longer projects. It's not just a simple question and answer, but it's much more of like a complex project management sort of approach. And so it's allowed this technology to provide much, much more impressive results. The risks I mean, it amplifies all the risks of the other stuff, right? If you're putting in private data, you got you got even more problems because you got lots of bots running around with your ticklish information, but also cost that uh, more and more AI models are banning these kind of agentic models like OpenClaw. They're banning them and saying, hey, this is not the free model anymore. Because what they'll do is they can just keep on cranking and cranking and cranking and incurring pretty dramatic costs in terms of tokens. And so there are some real risks there. All right, so practically, how is this used? Well, contract management, right? This ongoing process to analyze contracts, to research contracts, to compare things, that sort of stuff. If you have a simple contract question, you don't need agentic. But the more it spans to say, okay, analyze these 5 contracts and write a new contract based on the weaknesses of this, and all this sort of stuff, you can do a lot more with agentic AI than you ever could with traditional large language models. Legal research. So when you were talking, Gio, about the judges, how they scan everything in Westlaw, it's the same sort of thing. I'll bet they're using some agentic as well to say, okay, let me understand your question. All right, let me see the case. Let me understand what they're saying. Okay, now let me look it up in Westlaw to understand, what the law says, what the case law says, what the judge's response says, to see, is this the current? Has there been a new case on this? Has it been overruled, things like that. So it's an ongoing process, and they'll have bots that go out and do that. Okay, that. And once it's done, it'll keep on working. But all that orchestration is done behind the scenes. E-discovery, same sort of thing. If you have a more complex process, doing research, finding flaws, finding evidence that's responsive, all that sort of stuff. It really is a powerful way to do the much more complex tasks, to not just say, is this document responsive, but look through all these documents and see which ones are the most responsive and provide them in order, and that sort of stuff. And strategic analysis. I mean, come on, to say, here is my whole brief. I'm about to file this with the judge. What are some questions that a reasonable judge would ask? What are some weaknesses that my opponent would find in this argument? What is the most likely argument that they're going to have? When I drop this on them, what are they going to come back with? And how can I create an argument that anticipates that and blunts their argument? So large language models on their own can't do that. But agentic has that iterative process to keep going out and doing extra research to provide you with that kind of result. And it's rapidly developing. I mean, this is an amazing field of technology. There's so many new developments. It allows new types of technology that just weren't there in the past. So legal research is not the top reason that agentic exists. Right now, people are using it for things like coding. They're doing an incredibly good job of writing computer code with just some notes, and you say, yeah, I want a program that does this and this and this, and you can crank out really beautiful code in a matter of minutes. So agentic is being used across the board, but legal, like in other technologies, is going to benefit from this new technology. So as agentic gets better, as large language models get better, the benefits accrue to the legal business as well. So that's what I've got. Gio, back to you.
All right, stop sharing,
All right.
and then Dominic, you're up.
I'm up.
Don't drop the ball, Dominic.
First of all, I want to say what an amazing presentation by Jason. And the way we worked this out was, I mean, he's an expert in AI, an absolute expert. And he gave you all the overalls and what it can and cannot do. I want to show you more on a practical level what we are doing with it. And this is clearly not going to be any kind of a sales presentation because Gio will kill me. But the only way I could show you is by demonstrating it. And I'm going to do something that I shouldn't be doing. I'm going to do it live. So that's how much confidence I have. First of all, this is elaw.com. Elaw is one of the Lexitas companies. It's been around about 25 years. I started it way back when, before there was AI, or I know of AI. Right now it has well over 100,000 people using it across the country. And we were able in the last year to expand it throughout the country to 40 more states because of AI. AI has allowed us to go get things. For example, now we do a unified search because of AI. We do automatic docket tracking, AI data normalization, cleaning it and standardizing it, workflow integration. And I'll show you some of those examples. My experience before I really started learning about AI a couple of years ago was everybody has Chat GBT. You're going to ask questions to get an answer. And that's really the extent. And a lot of lawyers that I deal with, I'm also a lawyer. That's really their extent. They ask questions to Chat GBT. Now the advent of Claude, which is one of the things that Jason just talked about. I now have developers that work on projects for weeks, and we use Claude. They can get the same work they're going to be done in an hour, as long as it's supervised. So it's really insane the things you could do. But it can go off. It'll take you to a crossroads, and it'll say, do you want to go this way or do you want to go this way? So you need a senior person looking at it and say, I want to go right instead of left, which is very important. It's not totally eliminating humans, but I think on the entry level coding, it's going to be eliminating a lot of people. Framer, which is website design. I mean, people are familiar with that. I know a bunch of people are using resumes. I get a lot of resumes in, and I can look at them immediately and say which ones were drafted under AI. So you don't want to exclusively use AI because people are smart on the other end. They're looking at it. And I hope you're not writing your briefs using AI, because I'm a former federal law clerk, and the judges are pretty smart, and so are the clerks. So the worst things to have when you look at a brief and you see a citation that it doesn't exist, you're dead. So anyways, now with the advent of AI, what we can do is I've now expanded to 4,000 state and federal courts. I have access to 2 billion dockets and documents. That's all because of AI. Bots are out there grabbing data every day and bringing it in, normalizing it. So I'll show you some of the things to ReLaw itself, just a website. I'm sure there are others, which you go out and you can do searches. It opens up into New York. You could do a name search. Say you wanted to search a deadbeat like Dominic Esposito. So it's going to go across the whole state, find every case involving it. So it's grabbing, normalizing, putting it in all one place. You click on one of these things, you can find information about it. You can do an index or a docket search, the same thing for your end, and you get the result. I just pulled one today, 6-2. Just click on a case and it'll go into that case. It'll grab everything on the case, all the details, all the information you can find, who the judge is, what the judge's rules are, who the parties are. Click on this, you get all the e-file documents in the case here. Remember, you used to have to pay people to go to the courthouse and copy your documents and bring them back if you wanted a motion decision or something. Those days are long gone. It tells you who all the appearances are, puts you nice and red if in the future. Any motions, it gives you the whole motion history on it. Who the attorneys in the case are, and it also helps us generate automatic alerts. When anything changes, it triggers an alert, goes off to you or anybody else. So through the advent of AI, we're able to take this simple model, which I started in New York, expand it to New Jersey, to every federal district court in the United States. And most recent last year is we went across all these state courts and looked up things. So it's very nice. Like I'll pick Minnesota just as a state, and I want to do a search on a Sig Sauer, a firearm case. So what it's going to do is it's using the natural language to try to put something together on top here, find every case that fits into these parameters, which it thinks, and list them all here for you. And this was 10 different results. And if for some reason you wanted to refine that and you wanted to use something different, you can go like that. You can pick up any of these fields, ask questions of the judge, the party, the courts, the case types, the case statuses. It has a million different filters, which are going through, for the use of AI, all this data that's flowing back and forth. We're grabbing it, we're organizing it, we're putting it in place. It's all AI. I mean, we would not be able to do anything without AI. So that's where it's going. It's grabbing all this information. And if you're tracking cases, you're going to go into what I call an e-watch filter up here. Let me get this out of the way because I can't see. And all the various courts where I'm tracking things right now. So, well, again, we can go to Minnesota for lack of anywhere else. Here's a case I just put on. So what it's doing is it's grabbing all of this information from the docket, it's slapping it onto a site, it's grabbing every single document. So for example, if you wanted to see a document, it's preventing you from going into a lot of different court portals and spending a lot of time doing things of which as an attorney you do not have, or your staff does not have the time, and you're wasting time, non-billable time, or if it's a contingency case, you're not making any money off of doing this stuff. You wanted this document, you just click on this, you request, select the document, the court allows it's for free, goes out and grabs it, and it will appear. So as of right now, it's requested. If I went back in a minute or so, the document would be here. So AI has really taken us completely around the country, giving us intelligent searches with the filters that you're finding. Again, we're grabbing everything in a unified search in one location. If you practice in several states or in one, it's all right there. I know Georgia, for instance, has 2 or 3 separate portals within Georgia that you have to go up to each one and find out where your case is, depending on what case. And a lot of times there'll be different results in the different portals. When I was testing out with some Georgia, they were like, how can that be possible? We grab it, we normalize it, it's all right here. I guess I'm part of AI, and that's where it is. In all of these cases, when anything changes at all, it triggers off an email alert to you, telling you or anybody in your staff, what has changed. It syncs it automatically. If you use Outlook Calendar, you use a Google Calendar, it syncs it to that. If you also use a case management system, I don't know what you're using out there. We sync with all the major ones. It would sync it right there. So you're sitting in your case management system and your CRM. Everything is done for you. You're adding the case from there through e-law. It's coming there through the use of AI. It's updating your calendar. It's updating your case. So all this time when I was practicing law, that you'd be wasted just doing things. It's all done for you. AI is a wonderful thing for that. Also, it generates customized reports. If you want, I need reports that say A, B, C, D, give it to us. We plug it through our AI processor. It comes back with all the data and shoots out all the information to you on a daily, weekly, or monthly. And big insurance companies use us all the time. They use us. Big claims firms do.
Hey, Dominic, in Illinois, the e-filing system originally started out to be a flat filing system. The documents weren't really attached. Did you guys have problems, like in Illinois, collecting the documents from these flat databases?
We do not. We do not. In the beginning, we did, right when they began, but as of right now, we don't. And I don't think I'm tracking any Illinois cases, which I probably should have. So let's just look really just quickly here. Let's get out of this thing. Yeah, because some of the courts do have problems with, it's another 6-hour case. Yeah. So docket, there's all the dockets. The documents weren't available. I just did this like 10 minutes ago. So, but we would go back in if there's a problem. Some of the courts, as you know, are terrible with any kind of electronic. And most of them are good and they're getting better and better and better. So our bots are just going out and grabbing whatever it is out there and pulling it back. But I hope that answers your question, George. So this is just really an overview, that we do. We push things into calendars for you like everybody else does. If you didn't want to use your own calendars, we have them here too. And this is all AI assisted. We used to do a lot of this stuff way back in the beginning without AI, but AI has allowed the same handful of people to go out and grab 2 million documents and cases all over the place, put it in one place for all the major law firms. So again, it's going to give you less manual work and review. It's going to give you better insights. It's going to give you the ability to make faster decisions on things. It's going to give you improved access to court data and transparency, which is important. So I let Jason just lay out what AI was. I'm showing one practical purpose in one of Lexitas's companies, which has allowed us to grow like crazy. I don't want to spend too much time on e-law, but in general, questions on AI for Jason and I, or anything at all, we're glad to answer.
Hey, Dominic, for that program, is it a subscription membership sort of platform, or how do you get access to that?
It's just a per case charge,
Okay,
$3.50 a month per case or discounted. So, depends on.
okay.
volume. So in many places, it's client reimbursable.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Dominic, this is very interesting. What are you guys doing in terms of deposition prep summaries?
I'm going to stop share because that's right in Jason's lane.
So I've created something called Deposition Insights. It's an interactive platform that uses agentic AI to help manage transcripts. So it's both past transcripts and future transcripts. If you want, I can do a quick demo of it.
Please,
Okay, give me a
we have
second.
time. We have a lot of time.
All right, well, let me log in here and let's see. I'm happy to do it.
Otherwise, we're just gonna have to sit here and look at Rhonda.
Better than looking at me. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something that I started building about 5 years ago, and it allows attorneys to bring transcripts in to analyze them, create summaries, and then interact to query the documents. So let's see, I'm going to show you some examples, some real depositions here. I mean, raise your hand if you know Sam Bankman-Fried, fantastic human who's in prison now. So we have his transcript and we have his video. Both come in handy here. And this is again a combined platform that has transcripts, medical records, documents, videos, all this sort of stuff. So with Deposition Insights, first we create a summary. We create different types of summaries of each transcript. So we have a factual summary called the overview here. And it's all super customized to each individual transcript. We have a high-level summary, which is basically a paragraph. We have a detailed summary, which is effectively a page. We have a page and line summary, which is probably what you're accustomed to seeing in traditional deposition summaries. But the difference is this is not done with arbitrary page chunks. So we'll look for a topic and say, okay, where does the topic start and stop? And if it's just a few pages, then that's great. If it's a 30-page chunk, what we'll do is we'll winnow it down. We'll make sure the topic is specific enough so that we keep these all as bite-sized chunks. And then if you're interested in something, you can say, oh, I'm interested in the BlockFi acquisition. Okay, well, let's click on that line and jump right to that part of the transcript. We also have a topical summary. And so this is where we step back and say, well, what were the main 5 to 10 topics that took place in the deposition? And we'll summarize each of those individually. We have a visualization tab, which allows us to create an outline. Because as you know, depositions are all over the place. The data is scattered just randomly throughout the deposition. The deponents are never like, well, let me give you all the topics on this one thing. Let me give you all the points. They'll throw some fact bombs here and some fact bombs here and some fact bombs there. So this really adds order to something that's generally disordered. And so then you can see how, his testimony, what is legal, the political stuff, there's political donations, there's legal advice. Okay, you can see how it all fits together. It's kind of like the analogy I use is like when you buy a puzzle. Like I don't buy puzzles, it's not my thing, but on the outside of the box, you'll see how it's supposed to be. And then you open it up and there's just a whole jumble of puzzle pieces. So the visualization is that sort of function to add some order and to give you a sense of what's really there. Then we have a timeline that allows you to see all the different events, everything mentioned during the entire transcript. And so if there's a time, great, we'll put that in. If there's a date, that's important. We can also use just relative dates. When they say, oh, that was about 10 years ago. So we'll do the math. We'll say, okay, so 2016. Okay, great. We'll do that kind of math. So at least you can slot things in chronologically. So you know when things happened, before what and after what and all that.
Will it work with multiple depositions and summarize? Give me a chronology from multiple depositions.
That's in our beta server. We're about to roll that out sometime next week.
And what about dep prep?
Yeah, well, I'll show you that because that's one of my favorite features of this.
There we go.
So with Deposition Insights, we're able to do a lot more of the in-depth questioning. So, for example, we'll index all the admissions made by the deponent during the entire deposition. So here is all the affirmative statements, anything that's a yes or a no, or here's what happened, or the answer is 45, whatever it is, every single answer is going to be here. And we're going to add a topical label or labels to that particular Q&A pair. So if you want to winnow it down and say, well, that's a lot of admissions, I don't need that many. Let me just focus on risk management and oversight, for example. But the magic is on the insights on the right-hand column. This will explain the significance or the materiality of each individual question and answer in light of the overall deposition. So you see something like, why wouldn't you have been focused there if that's where the profits were? I don't know if that's where. I mean, Alameda. I mean, I don't know. FTX made some profits as well. So here he implied knowledge of Alameda's profits and exposure while downplaying direct involvement, which may contradict prior statements of lack of knowledge and affect credibility. Okay, so it takes a deep, deep understanding of each individual transcript to highlight that and to explain why it's significant. And then once we have all the admissions indexed, we can actually create a list of contradictions. Now, this one, he only contradicted himself once, but page 24 versus page 12, he contradicted his admission to being consulted and someone involved in Alameda's venture investments. He flatly denies in another section having been involved in running Alameda, making decisions, or even knowing the size of the positions. So again, we're gonna identify things that can't both be true. And you as an attorney can look at it and go, oh, okay, I can explain that away. That's not a big deal. Or, ooh, okay, this is good. We find this most in long transcripts where he'll say one thing on page 12 and another thing on page 312. And a human brain just can't store all those facts and see the contradictions, but a large language model can do a great job. And then on the transcript tab, we can actually show the video of the deposition. So if you want to see him lying under oath, that's great. But what we're doing here is we're doing the analysis of micro expressions. We're using video AI, this is what we call multimodal, to analyze all the expressions on his face and compare it to what he's talking about, to look for the alignment between the text and the appearance. And we're not marketing this as a lie detector. It's not a lie detector. That's, we're not putting like those sensors in the guy's neck and the wrists and none of that. But what this does, this allows you to spot things that the jury would otherwise spot. When their eyes are moving around and they're getting nervous and they're coming back and forth and they're, shifting their body, the geometry of the body is changing, or the pace, the rate, the pitch of the voice is changing, all that sort of stuff.
Can I use this at a poker table?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No problem at all. And so here, like in the deep in the red section, you can see like
hearing. And so at that point, there wasn't that much left to save from that. At that point, I think the bigger.
And we quantifiably put so that's green 27, which means, reasonably positive, negative 59. Okay, that means he's got some indications that he's uncomfortable. But again, it's not necessarily lying. It could be things like, he's nervous, doesn't want to admit something, he's reluctant to admit something, doesn't know what he's going to say, that kind of stuff. We're just looking for that apprehension, for that evasion or nervousness and things like that. Okay, so George, to go back to your question, witness prep. This is a very, very important part of the application. So up here where it says Ask DI Plus, this is where we employ agentic technology for our customers every single day, right? So you click on the agent model, and you can ask any complex question you want. You can say, I will be deposing SBF's CFO tomorrow based on this testimony. What questions should I ask? And because it's agentic, it's going to spin up multiple bots. It's going to look at the complexity of the question and say, okay, I'm analyzing it. I'm generating subcategories or different lenses. And I found 5 different themes of data here. So question number 1, question number 2. And so each of these questions is assigned a bot. And so that bot is working on that one question. And then the second bot is working on their question, and third. So it's like a group project where everybody actually helps out. And then when it's all done, we bring that information together into one document. And then we compare all the answers to one another just to make sure that they're internally consistent. Because the last thing we want is to have answers going in different directions, right? So we're going to provide some answers. And then when it's done, it'll come back with our statements, our findings, and it'll also come back with page and line citations. So you know where things came from. I've helped a lot of attorneys like the week before trial where they're starting to get nervous and they've got 20 or 30 transcripts. They'll say, okay, which of these deponents are going to be the most helpful in this case? Who do I put on the witness stand? What do I ask them? What documents do I call up? What evidence do I call up? All that sort of stuff. And so yeah, it's been really, really helpful, but none of this would be possible without agentic technology.
Jason, is it possible, using your deposition insights to, while you're taking a deposition, use the insights to check to see if the witness's testimony is consistent with other testimony and other depositions?
That is exactly what I'm building. I'm working on that right now.
Oh my gosh.
That's my main focus right now.
So it'll do this on the fly.
Yep.
Let me clarify. So we're taking a deposition. Lexitas is transcribing it.
Obviously.
As it's being transcribed, it can be coming down onto my computer.
Mhm.
While it's being transcribed and downloading to my computer, will it double check the other depositions instantaneously?
So what we're building right now is internal contradictions from that one transcript. So if at 8:30 in the morning they say one thing, at 9 o'clock they say something different, 9:30 they say something completely different, we're going to have the ability to track stuff like that. But then also we're going to have the ability to load extra evidence in to say, well, let me bring in his expert witness report. Let me bring in his the report he wrote after the surgery. Let me bring in the police report. And so you can compare those two things here. I'll show you how that works. You can bring in documents as well. So that's exactly what we're building. And it's a work in progress. We're trying to first start with just, getting the text, getting the audio and the video, getting that in sync, and then looking for admissions and then contradictions and then the interactive, the querying or the interrogation of the transcript. But yeah, we're excited to launch that very soon.
Cool.
Okay, so here's the report that we just generated. Took a couple minutes, and let's see, let's open it up. So it just gives you kind of an outline, questions you should ask. If you're talking about fund routing, well, these are some key questions to ask about fund routing. Or commingling of funds. Okay, great. That's a key topic. What are some questions for the CFO on commingling of funds? Or financial reporting, solvency representations, asset recovery. Okay, yeah. So you can see topic by topic, question by question, how this will help with witness prep or deposition prep.
So it's a nice second chair.
That's exactly what it's called, second chair.
Oh, do I get credit for that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Question from Nick. Will Lexitas let us know if the other counsel is using live action transcription?
So as a court reporting firm, we're obligated to offer the same thing to everybody. So we'll say, hey, this is available, but that's about it. We need to be really, really careful. We're walking a very fine line. So we don't say, hey, your opposing counsel is using this, you should use it too, but hey, this is available on this deposition. So that's one of the key obligations we have as a court reporting firm is to offer the same service to everybody.
Okay. All right, do you want to stop sharing?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to open it up to the entire gallery. Does anybody have any ad hoc questions they want to ask? We're not offering any odds on any games. All right. Boy, we've just wowed you into silence. Okay.
So Joe, let me just say one quick thing. one of the important features is the pulse checking you do. You're checking your emails, you're checking your the court sites, trying to figure out things, what's changing, which is causing agita. I mean, I used to wake up in the middle of the night always wondering if I had a court appearance the next day, if it was on trial, if I was going to blow a statute, this and that. The use of AI makes that agita be greatly relieved. And I've heard that over and over from trial counsel since we introduced what we do. And I know a lot of firms that are using what Jason has put together and are just completely blown away from the old days, trying to remember how we used to do it. That's
Well,
kind of all gone.
Yeah, that brings up, Tom, I'm gonna get to your question in a second, but I see you guys integrate with a couple of CRMs. Filevine, for example. So while it's being deposed, will your product be able to grab all of the information that's in Filevine on that particular matter?
So you're asking about deposition insights?
Yeah,
So we don't have a integration with Filevine, but you can import transcripts. So import PDF files or text files or anything like that. If we've done it for you, there's an import button at the top of the screen. You can just click import. And so if we've got it, great, you can import it. Otherwise, you have to download it from your CRM vendor or court reporting firm.
so you're not integrated with any CRMs.
Deposition Insights is not integrated with any CRMs. That's right.
E-law is integrated with 10 or 12 different CRMs.
I'm sorry, who said that? Who said what?
Dominic said that e-law is integrated with 10 to 12 different CRMs.
Right. Okay, good. All right. Hargrove, you had a question? You're muted, Tom.
When will the Deposition Insights product go to the next level, and when will that be available?
The second chair functionality?
Yes.
As soon as I can. I'm hoping about a month or two.
Oh, okay, so sometime in 2030, or do you think within the next
exactly right.
calendar quarter?
Something like that. Yeah, actually the core technology is done. I'm happy to report. Right now, we're just integrating with our existing systems. So in terms of scheduling depositions, how we handle the handoffs of like who sets up the Zoom and how does it pass back and forth. The core technology already exists.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
George, I just have a quick comment, if I may.
Sure, Michael.
Yeah, so I work with George on some cases doing some ESI, and for everyone on this call, do not hesitate to, and George didn't send me anything, neither did Jason nor Dominic, saying do not hesitate to reach out to them, because I can't tell you the numbers of times that people try to advance their cause without knowing the landscape of this. I'm going to tell you the 10 minutes or the hour that you will spend with both of them will save you legions of hours and having to undo things that you've done simply because, it's like everybody's silent, George, on this call, right? Nobody wants to share how much I don't get this. Reach out to them, contact them, get the base systems down, because all of this is here to stay. The more you're conversant and how you attack this is key on making progress with this for your practice, for your cases.
And the only thing I want to supplement to that, Michael, is that we all know that this is happening at such a lightning pace that it's impossible to keep up with what's going on.
You
And the only
can't.
way to do it is to share that information with each other, or talk to each other, talk to other lawyers, see what they're using. But what you talk about today is going to be old tomorrow. This is happening so fast, so fast. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. First of all, I'm going to thank Dominic and Jason and Rhonda for helping put this together. Lexitas has been a very big partner with the NWSBA on a lot of things, and they're regular sponsors of events. And for that, I thank Rhonda, because she always shows up to have a cocktail with us. So I'm going to stop recording.